Well, thank you
Lovely.
everyone for participating and joining us for the Freshwater Watch frequently asked questions session. We've got a whole load of questions for you today. Remember that if you would like to submit a question for next month's FAQs, and please submit it to us with a deadline date of, what did you say, the 20th of September,
Yes,
please.
I think
No,
so,
sorry,
yeah.
the 23rd of August, because the next one
August.
is on the
Yeah.
28th of August. So there you go, that was a good start. Right, I'm going to start with a question that I was asked last week. We were out at an event and encouraging people to become citizen scientists and go out and collect water samples for us. But they were really concerned that they didn't have any waders to go and collect water samples. So, do you need waders to go out and collect water samples, Laura?
No, you emphatically do not. And the reason for that is you should never enter the water when you're doing a freshwater watch survey. So waders are unnecessary because you will not be getting into the watercourse. However, what we do recommend when you're taking a trip to the riverbank is that you wear sensible or appropriate footwear. So we would recommend not flip-flops, not slides, something with preferably with a closed toe that gives you support, something like trainers, if it's wet, Wellingtons or hiking boots or some other sturdy footwear, which will help prevent slips, trips and falls at the riverbank, which is something that we really don't want, and that will give you good footing in possibly slippery conditions. So no waders, but no dancing shoes and platform heels either, please.
Really?
Really not. As attractive as it may be.
Question number 2. How can I get trained in freshwater watch monitoring without attending an in-person event?
It's a very good question because not everybody is able to travel to or has access to an in-person event. So what we can do, and I'm going to try and do this online and share with you. In brief, what you would do is go to the Freshwater Watch website. You would sign in with the sign-ins that you've been given as a member of Freshwater Watch. You would go to your group or event, scroll to your group, click on the group, look below the map, and then you would go to the little button that says Learn. And on there, you will find training videos and also a questionnaire, a test at the end. So that is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to attend the Train the Trainer webinar session online, which we hold every month. Sam held one yesterday. So you will be informed when those are coming up each month. If you can let us know that you'd like to attend so that we know how many people to expect, and then you can join in there, ask questions, and Sam will be there live and as much in person as she can be to help you with that. And then a third way of doing it is to contact your group manager and ask them to join you at the riverbank or meet up with them and have them show you how to do your freshwater watch testing. So what I'm going to try and do is share my screen. And so what I've done here is I have come to the Freshwater Watch website. And at the top here, you will see that you can sign in. I'm currently signed in as a group manager, but you would sign in as yourself. You go to My Groups and Events. So if you're a regular Freshwater Watch citizen scientist, then it will take you to your group immediately. I'm going to click on the action for the River Kennet. It's just loading. Here is the members area, which you will see. First of all, we have a map. There are all the data points, and we'll come back to this for action for the River Kennet. And then here in the members area, we have step 1, learn. So that is where you will find a training video that's been made expressly for the purpose of helping people understand how to do a freshwater watch survey. There's prepare, upload, and then help and support. So at least this one will definitely be available to members. And here is the learning area, instructions, read the instructions, training video, watch the video, final research test, take the test. When you pass the test, you're ready to go off and do FreshWater Watch testing. Okay. Then, Sam, I think you had a related question.
I did. Once that you have collected your data and uploaded it to the survey, how can you then access that data?
Yeah, so there are a couple of routes. One is again to go to My Groups and Events, and there are all the data that have been collected by that group. You can zoom in and out to look at different points. And what you can do here is you can select the date window that you'd like to look at, or you can filter by individual if you would only like to look at your data or somebody else's data. And then you can look at, you can filter it by the phosphate levels if you wish to. So there's less than 0.2 and so on and so forth through the phosphate levels, and you can filter it by the nitrate levels. So you have a number of ways of deciding which data you'd like to see. So that's how you would look at it in My Groups and Events. Another way of looking at the data is to go to Our Data on the main website, explore our data. And here we have the entire global data set, if you would like to look at more than just your own data. And if you go to take a deeper dive, scrolling just below, here is a map. Here will be a map. Okay, here is a map of all the rivers and all the points that are available. It's populating itself. You can zoom right out and see the whole world. You can zoom in and see the UK and go closer, closer, closer. And if you would like to select certain data, you can select by the group name or the event name up here. You can choose dates that you would like to look between, and then you can filter by turbidity levels, phosphate levels, and nitrate levels. You can also choose different base maps to look at by clicking here, and you can choose different layers of data to look at by clicking here. And there is a legend for the map here, which tells you what all the symbols mean. So we've got a symbol for a sewage treatment works or a water company, for example, like that one. And then we've got the poor, moderate, and good pins, which you can see here. And then if you would like to analyze some data, you can use this little tool over here, which is a lasso tool. You can decide whether you would like to draw a funny shape and collect just the piece of just the data that you'd like, or you can choose a circle or a rectangle. So for example, if I choose a rectangle and I draw it there, I'm going to select those points. They will turn an attractive shade of purple. And then the data associated with those points shows up as graphs down here. And you can download those data by clicking on this little arrow here to an Excel spreadsheet. It will come down either as a CSV file or an Excel spreadsheet. If you want to download 43,000 points, just click here for an Excel file and there for a CSV file. And you can do all the wonderful things with 43,000 FreshWater Watch data points. So anybody anywhere in the world can download all of the data. Or if you want to be more selective and you don't want to wade through 43,000 data points, you can just select the ones for your group or your very own data point. If you were to, I've deselected those. If I zoom in and I just want to click on there, on that particular point, it will tell me where it is, what the group name is, how many people were present, and a number of other data and information points on there. What it will not tell you there is who took that particular survey because of the protection of information. So there will be no details available there. I see I managed to find C.S. Lewis Pond, which is quite nice.
Yeah, there you go. The next question that I was asked is, do I need to have internet connection or mobile data when going out and collecting my survey? Now, I didn't know the answer to this, so I've just been out with my phone and I've tried. And although you could still complete your survey, the issue that will come is with your GPS position. Even if you save it as a draft and then go back into it once you've got internet connection, I don't think it's going to update that GPS signal well enough. So I then had a little play a bit more, and I'm going to share my screen. And I've signed in as a normal citizen scientist. Members area page, and you scroll all the way down to the map. Just before you get to the map, there's a view, edit, and analyze your results. Click on that button. And this will give you...
And this is when you're signed in as a member, not as a group manager.
This is when you're signed in as a member rather than a group manager. And this will give you all of your group's data. Now, the easiest thing for you to do then is once you've uploaded your survey is to then edit your location. So for me, I'm going to pick, let's pick one of these, Dunstall Farms. Now it's going to tell me who it is. And because I'm signed in as this person, I can then hit edit this record. And after a little bit of waiting, it's going to give me the name, and then it's going to give me the option to change my location and move the blue pin to the right place. After lots of scrolling in, there we go. I will then be able to move. You can move the pin. Oh, there you go. You can move the pin to where you want it.
Okay. And if you decided that you didn't want to move it after all, can you just leave without moving it?
Cross, and it won't save any of your edits.
Okay. Unless
but you will only be able to edit your data set. Okay. So although you'll be able to see other people's data sets, only yours will be able to be edited by yourself. So hopefully that makes sense. That means that you can go out, you can collect your data without having an internet signal or data, and then come home on your laptop, find the data that you've submitted and edit it easily enough through our little system at the back. Next question was talking about waterway width. Depending on the seasons, obviously the height of the river's going up and down quite a lot. Where are we measuring our waterway width from? Is it from the river bank, so it's a consistent measurement every month, or is it actually from the water surface?
Well, I think what would be most helpful would be if it's the water surface, because that's going to change from time to time, and that's an update of information, whereas probably the bank to bank width is unlikely to change to any great degree unless we have some sort of cataclysmic flooding event or other natural occurrence out of the ordinary. So what's interesting is to know the water surface width, because it gives you insight. It doesn't give you a definitive answer, but it does give you insight to the flow conditions at the time, whether the water is high or low. So typically when the water is higher, the river will be broader, and when the water is lower, it's likely to be narrower. So yes, the actual water surface width is the thing that we're after there. And it's an estimate. We're not asking you to get it to the nearest centimetre. You know, roughly to the nearest metre is good enough.
Yeah, on the survey, there's a few ranges on there for you to choose on as well.
Yeah, yeah. As Frank pointed out.
Frank?
Indeed.
Another question I was asked was, I am sampling a site and it is residential down one side and there is cows in the field down the other side. It's completely equal usage. What do I put?
Well, the usual answer to someone who asks, you know, I've got 2 or 3 things, what do I put? The simple answer is put the one with the most area. put the dominant one. But this person has said, well, it's all this on one bank and all that on the other bank. So I think I don't think that you can choose two types. No. So failing that, I would use other and put both types in there and say that it's
both residential and agricultural.
Pastoral agriculture or whatever on the one side, or whatever kind of agriculture it is, using the phrasing that the choices are given in. So you're choosing both, use those words, but put them both in other, and they will get picked up from there.
This then leads us on to the importance of taking photos. Someone pointed out recently that as part of the quiz that you have at the end of survey quiz, that the correct answers were 1 and 2, and he was questioning why number 3 was not an acceptable answer. Now these, can everyone see these?
Yes.
Yep.
So we've got picture 1, we've got picture 2 and picture 3. Now both 1 and 2 are quite good photos because you've got not only the waterway on there, but you've also got a really good idea of what's happening on the bank. There's grass, there's small plants, you've got your trees and your shrubs, and it gives us an idea of actually what that land is used for as well. Same with picture 2, it's giving you a good idea of what's happening on both sides of the riverbank. Now, if you are using just picture 3 as your main photo at the beginning of a survey, although yes, it showed you what the bottom of the river is like, and you can see the water and the colour, it's not giving us an idea of what's happening on a broader picture. So we can't see what usage there is. We can't really see what the bank type is. So for your main picture on the first page of the survey, take a photo which is similar to picture 1 and 2. On some surveys, there is an additional option to add a second photo at the very end of your survey. Now, this could then be that second photo, whether it's to show us that the watercolour has changed dramatically since your last survey, or you can see maybe evidence of pollution, or there's just something a bit odd that's not right. Or on the other hand, we actually quite like to see pictures of nice things. So if you suddenly caught that photo of the kingfisher that you saw flying across the river, great, we'd love to see that too. But yeah, just make sure that main survey picture on the first page is something like 1 and 2.
Cool. Thanks for that. I think if I had to pick only one of them, I would go with 2 because it gives me the most information. I feel like I can only see one bank of the river in picture 1. But what I also noticed is it's a good picture because you can see there's green areas. There's also a bit of an eroded area there that's open, got no vegetation on it. Maybe if somebody got a very high, if it was raining and somebody got a very high turbidity reading there, it could be because of runoff from that open area. So these are all clues that when you're looking for the why, it really helps. There's plenty of what around, but the why is a bit more elusive to pin down, and those photos can definitely help.
Which brings us on to talking about turbidity, secchi tubes.
Yes.
We were asked when I fill up my secchi tube and that level goes smack bang in the middle of the 2 results of 2 bars, what result am I going to be putting on my survey?
Well, we consulted the methods manual for this one, and the methods manual is quite clear that when your reading lies between 2 markers, use the one with the higher NTU, which, wait for your brain to scramble, is the lower mark. Okay, because remember, we're measuring particles, not water volume. So the high values are towards the base of the tube and the low values are towards the top, because if you can see through a lot of water, in other words, you fill the tube to the top and you can see all the way through it, it has very few particles in it, so you get a 14 there. If you only put an inch of water in and you still can't see and you now cannot see the secchi tube, then you have many, many particles in there, so you're more than 240. So choose the lower one. That's kind of the cautious approach to say that we're sort of taking the worst case scenario there. So always be consistent with that.
So the lower line, but
Lower
there's a
line,
higher number.
highest number. Yes.
Fab,
Very
thank
easy
you.
to confuse those.
No, it's an easy mistake to make. I think we've all been there and done that.
Yeah.
Again, you know,
definitely.
as we mentioned before, if you find that you have made that mistake, go into that back end that we looked at before, and you can edit your survey.
Yes. One of the changes we are considering making in the survey form is when that kind of mismatch occurs. For example, if somebody says the watercolor is clear and then reports 240, that will be flagged up as an issue, and it will say these two answers don't match up. Please check. You know, check both answers. Don't know which one is wrong. Check both. But as I say, we're considering making those kinds of changes. We're not. Things are under discussion at the moment, but that is one of the potential changes we will make, that where there is a complete mismatch of answers, we will go back and ask. Yeah.
Fab. We've got one more. It's a bit of a big one, so I'm going to see if anyone else has another question or on anything that we've covered or anything we've not covered so far. No?
No.
Well, Laura, I'm going to go for a big one.
Okay.
Why are nutrients bad?
Well, first of all, nutrients are not in and of themselves bad. Nutrients are nutrients. Nutrients for plants, nutrients for animals, nutrients for people, we need them. They're needed for growth, for all the functions of life. So nutrients in and of themselves aren't bad. As with many things, it's the quantity that makes the difference. So in a watercourse, let's say running through an upland national park area where everything is as undisturbed as it can be in today's Anthropocene, you would still find nutrients in the watercourse, and you would expect, depending on where you are, that they would be in balance with the surroundings, in balance with the rest of the ecosystem, and that there would be sufficient nutrients that will sustain the plant life that's needed to sustain the biodiversity of small insects on the bottom of the river, what we would call benthic invertebrates, or those little river fly guys who are there, and the fish, if there are fish in that particular river, will feed from those. So it's that nutrient input is needed to support the energy flow through the ecosystem, to get a little bit complicated, to support life in that aquatic ecosystem. However, there is an imbalance in the amount of nutrients that now find their way into our rivers because we put artificial fertilizers on the land surfaces to increase crop production. We've been doing this since the 1940s. Thank you, Mr. Harbour and Mr. Bosch. We've been taking nitrogen out of the atmosphere into chemical fertilizers, spreading it onto the land instead of letting land lie fallow and recover, or growing crops that will reintroduce the nitrates and the other nutrients that are needed. We've unbalanced the process, and much of that, quite a bit of that nitrate will either run off during winter or over decades will seep down through the land surface into groundwater and find its way back into the river through base flow. The other thing that we obviously think about is that we use rivers to carry away waste of many different descriptions, but one of them is sewage waste from domestic areas, from housing and other domestic areas. So in using a river as a conduit to carry away sewage, we then overload that system with also nitrates, but particularly with phosphates. Phosphates do come from the land surface as well. But it's fair to say that the main input of phosphates into watercourses comes from sewage, and the main input of nitrates into watercourses comes from agricultural activity. So then we have an overload situation. And so the question really is, Why is an excess of nutrients bad? And the reason that that is bad is because when nutrients are low, it limits the amount of plant and algal growth that can happen in the river. There's only so much nutrients, there can only be so much plants. But when we unbalance that, we get an explosion of algae and plant life, which may also not sound like a bad thing, but a few things can happen, including they block out sunlight to the lower levels of the stream. And when over the course of time, that algae and those overgrowth of plants die, they rot, and in rotting, they strip the aquatic environment of oxygen. They take up oxygen when they're rotting, and that takes oxygen away from the little benthic invertebrates, from the river fly guys in the bottom of the stream, and again, that creates an imbalance so that the things that feed on those don't do so well. And the other thing is that physically, that dead and rotting matter lies on the bed of the stream. It traps more sediment than it should. So you then smother the bed of the stream. And instead of a nice, clear, gravelly or pebbly or rocky bottom or sandy bottom, or even a thin layer of mud, which some creatures enjoy as a substrate, you would like to have a mosaic of those different stream beds, instead of which you have this fairly uniform rotting layer of vegetation, much like the leaf mulch in a forest, which is fine in a forest, not so much in the riverbed. And then you find that your stream ecology changes completely. So a normal amount of nutrients is fine. Oversupply of nutrients is very bad because it causes plant overgrowth, which leads to a cascade of negative impacts down through the stream. Once or twice would not be such a bad thing. Continually is what pushes rivers past their threshold to recover. And we release sewage and we release fertilizers from the land continuously into our rivers. So it's a very short question. It's about 5 words, really long answer.
No, but clear. Thank you. And yeah, that was our questions that have been submitted to us. So now is your opportunity to add anything else if you'd like to. If we can answer it now, we will. If we can't, we'll make a note and we'll get back to it next time. And what we will do is we'll make this recording available and we will add these questions to the frequently asked questions which appear on the website as well, so that everybody will have access to these. Fab. In which case, I will wrap up and we can have a little bit of our afternoon back to enjoy some sunshine. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining. The next one is on the 28th of August with a deadline of the 23rd of August to submit your questions to us at water@earthwatch.org.uk.
Lovely.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.